Federal government summons South Africa's High Commissioner over xenophobic attacks on Nigerians. Supreme Court dismisses suit seeking President Buhari's disqualification for lying under oath. In international news, divers recovered 25 bodies in California maritime disaster. And in sport, Super Eagles coach General confirms Vincent Enyama is ready to return to the Super Eagles.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The federal government has summoned the South African High Commissioner to Nigeria, Bobby Morua, over the xenophobic attacks on Nigerians in his country. Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyeama called the meeting this morning. Onyeama had said the federal government would take definitive measures in the aftermath of xenophobic attacks on Nigerian nationals in South Africa. The foreign minister describes the attackers as mindless criminals, noting the police intervention was ineffective. The latest attacks on foreigners in South Africa started last week after a taxi driver was murdered by an alleged drug dealer in Pretoria. The Supreme Court has dismissed a suit seeking the disqualification of President Muhammadu Buhari from the last presidential election for allegedly lying under oath. Appellant counsel Ukpai Okaire already withdrew the case following hints from the Apex Court that it is pointless going ahead with the matter, having been caught up by the fourth alteration to the 1999 Constitution. ANN reported on Monday that the appellants, Kalu, Labaran Ismail and Hazi El Kuruz, had approached the Supreme Court to notify the candidacy of President Buhari in the February presidential poll over allegations that he lied under oath. Following the observation, the appellant's counsel subsequently withdrew the action and the suit was dismissed without cost in the unanimous judgment delivered by Justice Odili. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court also criticized President Muhammadu Buhari for using a senior state counsel at the Ministry of Justice, Abdullahi Abubakar, for his private election-related trial. The criticism of the president's action was announced by Justice Musa Datijo. The court faulted the use of taxpayers' money to litigate a private matter. The court described it as a contravention of the provisions of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers. National Youth Leader of the People's Democratic Party, Ude Okoye, has been kidnapped. Police spokesperson Ebere Amarazu told reporters Okoye was at his farm in Enugu State when he was abducted by gunpoint. They said the adopters have not reached out to the family. Okoye was elected to lead the PDP Youth Wing at the party's National Convention in 2017. He resigned as a member of the Enugu State House of Assembly and moved to Abuja after he was elected youth leader. A motorist plying the Lagos-Ibadan expressway are appealing to traffic regulatory agencies to manage traffic beyond closing hours so congestion can be minimized. The expressway is currently partially closed. A meter stretch of the highway was shut for repairs early on Monday from Kara Bridge in Ogun State to Judu-Berger in Lagos. A large deployment of police officers, traffic regulatory agencies, patrol vehicles of the agencies is on ground. The site engineer says the crash barriers are to prevent reckless. Nigeria may possibly face another fine in arbitration in France over an alleged breach of contract on Mambila hydroelectric project. A British commercial court has awarded more than $9.5 billion against the country in favor of Process and Industrial Development Company in a botched gas processing deal. The Mambila project is currently a subject of litigation instituted by Sunrise Power and Transmission Company Limited, which accuses the federal government of going back on a $6 billion contract for the construction of the Mambila hydroelectric power project on the basis of build, operate, and transfer. They claim the federal government signed the same contract with another with 3 Chinese companies to form a joint venture for the execution of the same project. It also accused the Chief of Staff to the President, Buhari, of taking the unilateral decision to remove the company from the contract. The SPTCL dragged the government and its Chinese partners before the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris, France, over an alleged breach of contracts. Nigerian Stock Exchange has lifted the trading suspension placed on the shares of Royal Exchange PLC. The company was among 11 listed companies placed on suspension for non-compliance with rule relating to filing of accounts and treatment of default filing and the rule book of the exchange. The rule states that if an issuer fails to file the relevant accounts by the expiration of the core period, the exchange will send to the issuer a second filing deficiency notification within 2 business days. After the end of the core period, it will suspend trading in the issuer's security and notify the Securities and Exchange Commission and the markets within 24 hours of the suspension. The NYSE says Royal Exchange PLC has now filed its audited financial statements with the exchange for the year ended December.
Coming up, African stories. Separatists in Cameroon English-speaking regions threaten attack on schools that try to reopen. And later, international news. 25 bodies recovered in California boats disaster.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Cameroon school children were looking forward to the start of the school year on Monday, and the government appears determined to ensure schools are open across the country. One problem: the English-speaking region in the country is warning against reopening the 4,500 schools in its crisis-prone areas of the country. The only condition they gave under which they would allow schools to open is if their leader, Ayuk Tabe, and 9 others who have been handed life sentences by a military tribunal are freed. They are found guilty of secession, terrorism, and hostility against the state of Cameroon. The separatists have already attacked and wounded at least 9 teachers for flouting their directives. Governor of Cameroon's English-speaking Northwest region, Deben Chifofu, says parents should send their children to school because all measures have been put in place to protect teachers and school children. Violence erupted in Cameroon's English-speaking region in 2016 when teachers and lawyers protested against alleged discrimination at the hands of the French-speaking majority. The government responded with a crackdown that sparked an armed movement for an independent English-speaking state. More than 40 persons have been arrested in Johannesburg after chaos and massive looting that led to the death of 3 persons. The chaos followed a building fire in the central part of the city, and more than 50 inner-city shops and car dealerships were damaged. Reports says the looting and destructions were targeted at foreign-owned businesses. Angela Coppola reports from the scene of the melee.
The trouble started in Jeppes but quickly spread to Hillbrow several kilometers away, where several arrests were made and there was at least 1 critical injury. South African Police Minister Bekitsele dropped everything and made his way to the Jeppes area late on Monday afternoon to assess the situation for himself.
As we were walking on the street where the shops are banned, especially ShopRite, Pep and all that, there was some smoke here. We went down there to see what's happening. I found a group of people, and that group of people they told me to go and see Nduna. So I've seen Nduna to arrange the meeting that will take place tomorrow at 2.
The situation remained volatile and the police minister was in the area with only light security detail, as several hundred protesters kept moving towards him. There have been reports of police officers maintaining a visible presence in the looted areas, making several arrests. The shopkeepers in the areas aren't taking any chances though. The streets are deserted and shops have been closed and metal grids lowered.
Definitely they'll have, especially where people are burning things, but more than anything we also need to speak to the people.
Well, just 4 kilometers away from here, the streets are literally burning. This side of Johannesburg is dead quiet and calm.
Pope Francis will head to Africa on Wednesday for a 7-day visit to Mozambique and Madagascar, but will briefly visit Mauritius as well as the end of his trip. High on his agenda will be poverty, the environmental foreign exploitation of resources and corruption. The Pope's call for the protection of the environment is even now spurred by the Amazon fires that have ravaged the forest in Brazil. The Pope will promote sustainable development in Mozambique and Madagascar, where rampant deforestation has been a major problem. The World Bank says Mozambique has lost 8 million hectares of forest since the 1970s. That is about the size of Portugal. The French Agricultural Research Center says at least 44% of forests in Madagascar have disappeared over the past 60 years. Madagascar is the world's 4th largest island. The Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. says Catholicism in Africa has grown by 238% between 1980 and 2015. A World Bank economic update says with the use of innovative technology and approaches, universal financial access is an attainable target in Ghana. Enhancing financial inclusion, the 4th economic update for the country, notes that the financial sector has grown rapidly since 2010, increasing access to formal financial services. Ghanaian banks are seizing on these opportunities by digitizing to provide better financial services and target more customers. Nabil Ahmed Rafai reports from Accra.
When you log into the app,
the digital revolution is catching on, and banking in Ghana will soon be all about the mobile phone for rural and urban, business and personal banking needs.
The mobile phone has presented a greater opportunity for everyone to be part of the financial drive. That is where we see a major avenue. So it comes with a lot of work to continue deploying solutions at the mobile level and online.
Ghana's government hopes to achieve a cashless economy by 2030, and banks have a crucial role to play. At this digital banking summit, financial experts, mobile app developers and bank managers are discussing how technology can help improve the way they deliver service to customers.
there's a lot of technology available. Basically, it's a platform play where banks will have products, there'll be intermediaries that deliver those products across the channels, and people use their phone. I mean, I always use the line, where there's a phone, there's a bank. So that phone, whether it's a smartphone or a feature phone, is the center of the relationship with the financial sector.
Joseph Yendok of Asian technology company UTAP is at the summit to introduce its electronic payment solutions to Ghanaian banks. The technology allows small business owners with a phone the ability to send and receive money.
With this device, the agent can help customers who cannot onboard themselves. You can take all the KYC documents you have, and you can see it has a camera at the back. So you can take pictures of ID cards and any other relevant document that the bank needs. So you can do that for them. And with this also, you can do the basic banking transactions for customers.
Technology will also mean fewer people coming into banks to deposit or withdraw money, cutting down banking costs.
Many banks in Ghana are working towards adopting new innovations to make banking easier. But to compete effectively amongst themselves means delivering diverse services to help customers make smart decisions.
Most Ghanaians are still banking the old-fashioned way, but with over 32 million mobile money accounts already operating, experts say with government support, Ghana may well achieve its goal of a cashless society by 2030.
When we return, international news. 25 bodies recovered in California boat disaster. And later, sports. Ghana Raw says Vincent Eyama is ready for Super Eagles.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and World Events. National Hurricane Center in Miami says Hurricane Durian, one of the most powerful Atlantic hurricanes on record, has been tearing up the Bahamas for days now, killing at least 5 persons in the Abaco Islands in the northern Bahamas and filling up homes with flood water. Now it has weakened slightly early on Tuesday as it remains stalled over Grand Bahama Island. Hurricane Durian is now expected to move toward the U.S. coast, where more than 1 million persons have been ordered to evacuate. The National Hurricane Center says the hurricane has weakened to a Category 3 early on Tuesday, with maximum sustained winds of 120 miles per hour, down from 130 miles. It is expected to be stagnant until at least later in the morning. The exact toll of the devastation in the Bahamas will not be clear until the storm passes and rescue crews can get on the ground. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies are saying as many as 13,000 homes in the Bahamas may have been destroyed or severely damaged. Durian was expected to drift to the northwest late on Tuesday and stalk the coast of Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia. Divers are still searching for bodies early on Tuesday around the wreck of a boat that was destroyed by a blaze off the coast of Southern California. Authorities have also launched an investigation into what has turned out to be one of the area's worst maritime disasters. Associated Press reports at least 25 bodies have been found, while 9 are still missing, figures the U.S. Coast Guard has declined to confirm. The scuba diving vessel Conception was moored off Santa Cruz Island as flames ripped through it, trapping passengers in the lower deck. 5 of the 6 crew members managed to escape in an inflatable boat, but no one else has been found. Flames ripped through the scuba diving vessel Conception as it was moored off Santa Cruz Island, trapping the passengers below deck. 5 of the 6 crew members managed to escape in an inflatable boat, but no one else has been found. Police say the boat sank later in the morning and was currently lying upside down under more than 60 feet of water. The battle over Brexit continues on Tuesday as British lawmakers begin their fight to stop Prime Minister Boris Johnson from what they believe would be a calamitous Brexit if Britain leaves on a no-deal basis. One senior government source says this fight would prompt him to call for a snap election by October the 14th, more than 3 years since the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union in a referendum. The outcome of the Brexit crisis remains uncertain, with a range of options from a turbulent no-deal exit to abandoning the entire endeavor. Johnson has indirectly warned lawmakers on Monday that he would call for an election if they tried to stop him. This means the Prime Minister has ruled out ever considering a further delay to Brexit, scheduled to happen on Thursday, October the 31st. The British pound, which has been seen seesawing to Brexit pace since the 2016 referendum, fell to as low as $1.19, one of its lowest levels since 1985. The U.S.-China trade dispute and tariffs exchange are hurting American and Chinese companies, but U.S. President Donald Trump says that is not true. With evidence piling up on ground, Trump is instead blaming those companies he says are badly run and weak for any business setbacks. As Mark New reports from Silicon Valley in California, the Trump tariff policy is beginning to negatively affect startups.
Omi Hong owns a small retail business selling footwear she imports from China. Once a lucrative business, she says the new tariffs are putting immense pressure both on her and her customers.
Customer who buys shoes from here, which is made in China, they are very sensitive on the pricing. So 10% means a lot. We are not a name brand. We are not from Italy shoes. So like a 10% markup will make customer more hesitate to buy that.
And then it got worse. After threatening a 10% tariff, President Trump raised it to 15%, targeting a vast number of items from footwear to TVs and smartwatches starting September 1st, and many types of apparels, toys, laptops, and cell phones starting mid-December. In the fashion district of downtown Los Angeles, many retailers sell imports from China, and they're worried about the additional taxes that'll be soon levied on their products. Some businesses will absorb the extra cost, and some will pass it on to their customers. So many consumers will likely feel the impact. The vice president of the American Apparel and Footwear Association says the unprecedented amount of taxes imposed at the last minute could force many of their members to make difficult decisions.
That money's going to come from somewhere. Does it come from price increases in the future? Does it come from taking money out of their savings, money out of their profits, money out of their supply chains? Are they forced to not hire as many people or, God forbid, let people go? It's an extraordinarily disruptive process and very costly too.
Analysts believe the latest decision could have a knock-on effect on other industries like shipping and logistics. And while it's possible the world's two largest economies can absorb the short-term impact of these tariffs, many fear that a continued escalation could have far-reaching consequences.
One of the reasons why people think there'll be a recession next year is that there's some negative effect on the U.S. economy, negative effect on the Chinese economy, but the knock-on effects on the global economy, which are kind of more dependent on trade than either U.S. or China, are going to be large, especially for Europe and Japan.
With no sign of any resolution in the ongoing trade dispute between the world's economic powerhouses, a great deal of uncertainty looms for many retailers, and consumers will have no choice but to brace for price hikes during the holiday shopping season.
Up next, sport. Ghana Raw confirms Vincent Ayama is ready for Super Eagles. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sport. Coach Ghana Raw says former Super Eagles goalkeeper and captain Vincent Ayama is ready to return to the national team. Raw said that he has spoken with Ayama and that the goalkeeper would be ready once he is fit. Ayama announced his retirement from the national team in 2015 after a disagreement with then-coach Sunday Olise. Raw said he had a good team to face the Lions, but that his challenge was finding a good goalkeeper. The Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Sunday Dare, has pledged to ensure Nigeria wins gold medals at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and break the jinx that dates back to Sydney 2000. The minister made the pledge in an interview after receiving the Team Nigeria contingent, which participated in the 12th African Games at Morocco. That is NN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.